Hello and welcome to the shed. Today's video I'm going to be showing you how I apply homemade milk paint. Hope you enjoy. These two pieces here, I hand planed them and then sanded them with 240 grit sandpaper because I found that the milk paint actually absorbs and works into the grain better if you've had a 240 grit sandpaper over the top of it. It's just a standard disposable brush. I actually ended up getting these off Temu when I was ordering something else, but these little brushes have actually turned out really good for me. And I ended up with about 40 of these brushes for about $2 or something, so you know, I can't go too wrong. I couldn't buy anything like that locally that cheap. So you can see straight away that this paint was a red ochre pigment. I'll just show you the pigment in a second just so you can get some idea of what we're working with. Now, you do get a little bit of sort of bubble applying to the surface. I'm not too worried about that on the first coat because we end up sanding that out. So this is the red ochre pigment here. So it does have, although it is a red ochre, it gets this sort of orange tinge to it, as is very commonly seen in the outback here in Australia. I'll just apply a coat to our jarrah here as well, which for whatever reason, when I've done my samples in the past and I've put this onto a jarrah, it seems to foam up a lot more, and I'm not quite sure why that is. If any of you are aware as to why that might be, let me know down below. I think it's because it's just not absorbed in as easily, and so I've got to work it with the brush more, and so it just is stirred around a little bit more. As you can see, it just, no matter which way I brush it, it just is way more resistant. But this will soak in, so I'm now going to leave this to dry anywhere from half hour to 40 minutes, maybe an hour. It does depend on the temperature, obviously. We're now going to take some 800 grit sandpaper and just lightly deburr the surface of this paint. It's also dealing with a bit of raised grain here or there. That's good. Take some blue paper towel, tack cloth, whatever. You just want to wipe that loose paint off the surface, the powder that's there now. So this has been in the fridge, so I'm just going to give it a good stir. With your milk paint, you want to make sure that it does stay stirred up because it kind of separates it a little bit because it's just holding the pigment in solution. So now that we've got that, we can just come in and apply a nice coat. I think a bigger brush would actually work better for this, but this brush is doing a pretty good job. But a slightly bigger brush would just allow less strokes, and I think it would actually come up slightly less bubbly. But obviously it depends on the size of the project you're working on. And then we will put our second coat on the jarrah piece here. And that's our second coat applied. So now, once again, we got to let that dry. For me, it's starting to get a little bit late here, so I'll probably leave this overnight and get into a third coat first thing in the morning. I'll see you then. What I'm going to do is just lightly scuff over the top where those bubbles formed, and we should be able to cover them again. So a little bit of a heavier sanding just where those bubbles are, and wipe it back once again. As you can see, it hasn't really taken much out. It is smooth to the touch, so we'll just see how it goes. So this has been in the fridge, so we just got to give it a stir up. partially these bubbles are because I'm using a smaller brush. The more you have to work this paint, the more bubbles it seems to form. Just like when you're making a milkshake. I think that's partially why. You agitate it, you get more bubbles. But for the most part, it's not too bad. So we've got a nice coverage here now. And let's do this piece. So now we're going to have to let this sit and dry once again. I'm thinking this will be the last coat at 3 coats. Sometimes you might want 4 coats. It just depends how well it applies, how well you've mixed it, and whether you're getting the colour and coverage that you're looking for. The 3rd coat is now dry. I don't think we really need to apply any more. It's relatively smooth to the touch here. The application on the pine has come off pretty well. It looks pretty good to me. Although, if you look up closer here, you can see where I got a few of the bubbles on here, and I think that's more my application rather than the paint itself. So what I'm going to do now is apply a penetrating paste wax, some boiled linseed oil to both these pieces, and we'll see what it looks like. So I'll leave one section that has not got any finish. So I think I'll apply a little bit of boiled linseed oil. This is homemade boiled linseed oil. It's actually purified and boiled. And now I'm going to apply some paste wax, which is beeswax, boiled linseed oil, and some pure turpentine. Just going to get a nice thin layer of paste wax. So we can see here that the linseed oil is going to give it more of a shine than the paste wax, which it's a little bit of a surprise. But what I'm going to do is let this dry, and I'll get back to you once that boiled linseed oil is dry. It shouldn't take too long because it's boiled, so I'll be back with you in a jiffy. So it's now dry, and so we can see the differences in how this is laid out. So this was the paste wax, and you can see the paste wax on the hardwood as well. You can see this is the boiled linseed oil here, boiled linseed oil on the hardwood. You can see on the hardwood that it's actually exposed it a little bit more. It's soaked in to the hardwood a little bit more than the pine, but on both of these, I noticed the oil and the paste wax didn't really soak in as I expected. It looks like, with the ochre pigment at least, with some of the other pigments I've not noticed this, but that particular ochre one, this is the first time I've used it, and it seems to have sort of sealed the pores of the timber, and so the oil didn't really soak in as much as I expected. Yes, there's a little bit of darkening. It has come up slightly darker than the paste wax did, but we can sort of see that it is lighter over here without any of the finishes on. But for me, I think in terms of the look of this, I think the oil is the best finish, then followed up with a couple of coats of paste wax afterwards. That's probably what I would do. I know some people talk about just a paste wax finish over milk paint, but I do like the look that the oil gives, and then I'd put my paste wax over it. So there you have it, folks. That's my process for applying homemade milk paint to timber. And as I said, I think it works better on a softwood rather than a hardwood. I don't know why you'd want to cover a hardwood up with paint anyway, but I thought I'd just show you how it looks and compare and contrast. And hopefully some of you out there have been using milk paint longer than me, so I'd love to hear from you. what you think about my application process and what you might do differently to help everyone out that has not actually used milk paint before. And if you'd like to see another great video such as the one you've seen here today, do check out the videos on screen now. Bye for now.